Gaming content on YouTube in the 2010s was a wild time, with countless creators coming up with wacky personas and gimmicks to set themselves apart as they discussed old video games. While the 2000s saw the rise of angry gamers, this following decade saw a pivot to more informational-based content. One of the most peculiar from this era was Gaijin Goomba, a Japan-obsessed American man who made content with a squeaky voice along with a cartoon persona of himself as the famous Mario villain. While he was surprisingly unassuming and in fact popular at the time, as the years have passed I've had to look back and shake my head at some of this man's shenanigans, including him playing devil's advocate for Japan's sexualization of young women in games, live streaming his wedding where he's dressed up like Mario, and the countless tweets and videos of him publicly thirsting over his wife's assets, which culminated in a music video where his Goomba form raps about her big boobs. Because of all this, I wanted to do some digging into who this man was, and whatever happened since you don't hear much about him anymore. As it turns out, the truth is far more entertaining than I could have imagined. This is the story of Gaijin Goomba. Michael Sundmund was born September 5th, 1984. The young Gaijin grew up in Kansas, living with his family in a small horseshoe-shaped cul-de-sac. He was first introduced to video games thanks to a neighbor whose parents bought every new console that came out. It was on their quest to beat Super Mario Bros. 3 that he started to wonder what a tanuki suit actually was. This glimpse into centuries-old folklore would pique an eventual academic interest in Japan's history and culture, but that wouldn't occur until a bit further into his adult life. You see, he originally was interested in theater, participating in his high school's drama club. Upon graduating in 2003, he enrolled into the University of Arkansas to pursue a degree in the theater arts. It was during this time at this campus that he expanded his love for Japan. Having understandable doubts that a degree in drama would make a decent living for himself, a turning point came with the theatrical release of Kill Bill Volume 1 that October. Immediately after leaving the theater, he bought an English to Japanese dictionary. In 2004, Michael transferred from Little Rock to UArk's Fayetteville campus, home of Boogie 2988, to study international relations. There he found a decently sized Japanese student association. From kimono fashion shows to Soran Bushi dancing, he did everything he could to be part of the group. He even became president of the school anime club just like Dobson. Some of his oldest friends would be exchange students from Japan. In 2006, he was permitted to visit the land of the rising sun for the very first time, studying abroad at Kanto University for about 4 months. Footage exists from this time of him cosplaying Afro Samurai. Michael returned to the US in 2007 with the goal of becoming eligible for the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, more commonly known as the JET program. At around the same time, he entered into a serious relationship, getting engaged to a woman he met at college. After 2 intense years of studying, he finally graduated in 2009, earning his bachelor's degree. His senior thesis discussed pop culture globalization, arguing anime and manga had familiarized English readers with name suffixes and reading from right to left. These efforts got him accepted into the JET program, and just as he dreamed, his next 2 years were to be spent teaching English abroad. Sadly, upon arriving in Japan, a series of tragedies shook up his life. Firstly, his fiancée left him for another man. He later referred to her as a harpy who needed someone to manipulate and control. This was followed by the passing of his grandfather, as well as a lifelong pet that needed to be put down. He was unable to return home to address any of these issues, leading to the darkest 6 months of his entire life. Not helping matters is that unlike his initial visits, Michael now lived in the more isolated countryside. But over time, he'd settle in, making close friends and finding what he called adopted grandparents.
When I met them, they were like, oh, if you ever get lonely, come over, we'll keep you company, we'll cook dinner for you if you get hungry, we'll do your laundry for you, and I almost started crying because it made me so happy.
During this period, Michael taught at 2 different high schools. Overall, it was a positive experience, leaving him with the desire to return and educate Americans about what he had learned. However, a major issue throughout all of this was his loneliness. Michael didn't have any success dating local women, admitting to them that he was just a, quote, fat nerd with horrible fashion sense. A particular problem came in the form of girls asking for money just because they were cute. The hustle never worked, though he still ended up in some quite scary and uncomfortable situations.
I actually had some of my third-year kids, high school kids, come up to me and they're like, "Kane kaiste sensei? Kane kaiste?" I'm like, "Naze? Why?" And they're like, "Because I am cute though." And I'm like, "No! I am 10 years your senior. You go back. Go do your homework."
Eventually, love would find a way, albeit in unexpected circumstances. In 2010, he reconnected over Facebook with an old college friend named Sarah, better known online as Aki Terra. While they had known each other prior, they never got close as they were separately engaged to different people. With both of those arrangements falling apart, the two started chatting regularly, slowly beginning a long-distance relationship. It helped to have someone to come home to, even if that meant staying up late to accommodate the difference in time zones. He was only able to visit in person twice a year, making time together sparse until he came back for good in August of 2011. A few months later, he proposed to Aki on October 29th. Despite this, overall, Michael remembered feeling like he was at rock bottom. His initial aspirations were devoted to getting into the JET program. Now he didn't know what to do. He moved back in with his parents while trying to reestablish himself. He began tutoring online and got a part-time job doing IT work at his alma mater. This was the position that he found himself in when Michael became Gaijin Goomba, although in the early days he was simply known as the Gaijin Gamer. This online alias was created on January 6, 2012, with the first episode uploaded soon after.
You know guys, I wanted to do something more lighthearted for a first episode, but as it is the nature of this show to compare and contrast gaming cultures between the US and Japan, I feel that I need to talk about a specific issue right now.
Michael has gone on record to state the series was originally motivated by perceived hypocrisy. This video intended to contextualize why Japanese gravitated towards shows about high schoolers.
I do not in any way support pedophilia on moral grounds, but I can, however, see from their perspective why so many men in Japan fawn over fictional high school girls. It reminds them of their own youth, their own passions and desires, and a happier time in their lives.
He then calls out Americans for criticizing Japanese dating sims while their own culture glorified gratuitous violence. It's not necessarily an invalid point, but difficult to take seriously between the high-pitched chipmunk voice and the raised eyebrow Goomba.
US games are full of violence just as Japanese games can be full of sexuality. You must understand that neither side is more pure than the other. We all have our cathartic interests. Is Japan a little pedo? Yes, I would say so. But you must understand why it is that way.
To answer the long-asked question of why he chose to be a Goomba, Michael explained that he had always identified with them on a personal level.
Next, yes, Goombas are the weakest character in the game, but I have a lot of personal connection with that. Growing up, I've always been considered to be the weakest and dumbest kid, so I know what it's like to be looked down upon, and so I wanted to borrow some aspects of Goombas in my character design. Heck, in real life, I kinda look like a Goomba.
As for calling himself a Gaijin, a derogatory word for foreigners, he explained that after having been called the term many times himself, he decided to reclaim it. This first video stirred enough controversy to show him that people were willing to listen. While the editing was primitive, consisting entirely of pre-existing graphics, what he lacked in style he made up for in enthusiasm. His next video was far less divisive than his first, titled Exploring Japan's Language and Culture Through Simple Video Games. Inspired by the web show Extra Credits, he sought to prove that with a little bit of research you could learn a great deal about the country through the medium. This established the premise of his show, and despite its poor production quality, it was promising enough to gain recognition from the gaming site Screw Attack. He made 2 more episodes about localization as the Gaijin Gamer before taking a brief hiatus to field suggestions. The main complaint early on, and one that persisted throughout his career, was over the pitch shifting used for his voice. Many, including myself, found that aspect unbearable, but there was a substantial amount of people who preferred it, viewing it as part of the character. Still, as you can gather from the clips I've played so far, the techniques he used to modify his voice evolved over time. On March 12th, he uploads a video in which the likes and dislikes determined which pitch he should use for his narration.
Please keep in mind, I am never going to use my normal voice for this character. I had never planned to, I never wanted to, and honestly, To have a deep voice come out of a Goomba just sounds really, really wrong.
Ultimately, the newer modulation won out, so he deleted these original 4 uploads in favor of remastering them. The last episode he made in this original run was an interview with one of his old Japanese friends from college, referred to as Hutch. This took place around the same time he met a few creators that would go on to shape the future of his career. Just a year prior, a little-known YouTuber by the name of Matthew Patrick launched his own series called Game Theory. MatPat took a similar educational slant towards gaming and reached out to those he felt were in the same niche. Through this, he met Ronnie Edwards, creator of Digressing and Sidequesting. His series focused on game design and the history of certain mechanics. Ronnie and Gaijin Goomba first crossed over with a video about Kid Icarus. Ronnie appears as his animated self. They later started a website together called kariboshoe.net. Funnily enough, this wasn't the only gaming YouTube site named after Nintendo footwear from this era. Eventually, Michael and MatPat got in touch directly. He later credited Matt and his wife Stephanie with coining the name Game Exchange, which became the new title of his show. On April 21st, 2012, he uploaded revised versions of the first 4 Gaijin Gamer episodes. A month later, he debuted Game Exchange Season 2, with an all-new original theme song by musician Spelling Failure. His mission? Bringing culture to gaming. The intro cinematic reads, "My battle is against a truly formidable foe. I battle against ignorance and the unknown of culture and gaming, and defeat it."
As you can see, we've undergone a few changes. We have a new background. Oh yeah, I got my own pagoda. I've got a brand new look, although any semblance to Mickey Mouse from Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories is purely coincidental. And I've got a sweet obsidian katana now. Whoop,
This marked the official beginning of Gaijin Goomba as most came to know him, having a clear premise and distinct character. In addition to himself, Michael also had artists create a design for his fiancée, leading to the first appearance of Aki Goomba. He vowed to upload frequently, aiming for new episodes every 2 weeks, but often missed this deadline due to working 2 jobs. That May, he and Aki were also in the process of moving into their own place. With YouTube still an unprofitable venture, whether or not the show had legs was still up in the air. Thankfully, Season 2 of Game Exchange arrived with a new partnership that would give his channel a massive influx of attention. Michael was already well connected at this point. His videos were being hosted on Mushroom Tomatoes, The Punk Effects, and Reviewtopia. But the most pivotal was his friendship with MatPat. Because it took MatPat about a month to make each Game Theory video, he came up with the idea to bring on new talent to tide fans over between releases. This led him to Gaijin Goomba, who agreed to post his new videos on the Game Theory channel. That July, MatPat announced their very first partner show commencing, the Game Theorist Collective.
That's right, Weboverse. The smartest shows in gaming are coming together. An epic partnership for the ages. 2 shows, 1 channel.
The first episode of Game Exchange debuted on the Game Theorist channel July 5th, 2012. It highlighted Japanese culture found in Kirby, Mario, and Zelda games. Unlike later installments, it was never uploaded to Michael's own account. Because this was most people's first exposure to him, and having different hosts wasn't established on the channel yet, reception was mixed. MatPat even left a comment clarifying that game theory was still a thing. The most common complaint was, of course, the high-pitched voice. The next day, Michael uploaded his own response to the debut, acknowledging these criticisms and once again looking into other potential options. Still, he re-emphasized, "I know many people want me to use my real voice. I have personal reasons for not doing so, and more than likely I will continue to not use it." To this day, I still don't quite understand why he didn't want to use his real voice. The next episode was a revised version of his 2-parter Top 10 Japanese Games. It begins with an in-person segment acknowledging MatPat's audience.
And the majority of the complaints was the voice. Well, your complaints were heard, and I tried to do a lot to fix it.
The re-edited second half used a new method for pitch shifting, with him suggesting viewers skip halfway through if they found the old voice annoying. This was getting very convoluted. It's also worth noting this was the first time he ever revealed his face online. Both of these videos garnered 500,000 views, showing promise in MatPat's plan to diversify his channel. The third episode, about the difference between Pokemon names in the US and Japan, received 1.1 million views. Soon, Michael's own channel began to take off, enough so that he was invited to attend a local gaming convention. By August, he hosted a panel at GlitchCon about how to start your own web show. Despite these successes, though, Michael still wasn't making enough money to quit his job. That month, he would take a hiatus. In his place, a third show debuted on the game Theorist, the aforementioned Digressing and Sidequesting. Ronnie was primarily brought on as MatPat's first editor, establishing the show's signature visual style that lives on to this day across all the Theorist channels. Gaijin returned September 9th with the second part of his Pokemon analysis. He addressed the touchy subject of Jinx, a character many felt resembled Blackface.
You know who is racist, though? Freaking Wiz and Boomstick. You two experts think you understand Goombas and Koopa Troopas? You call Goombas pea-brains? Have you never played Paper Mario? If only there was a wise man of analysis and science who could come to my aid!
The ending was meant to tease a crossover with MatPat, Wiz, and Boomstick, though if it came out, I sadly wasn't able to find it. Weeks later, he announced a new mailbox segment in which viewers could send questions to his email. Something to give Michael props for is that he always embraced his community. From the show's theme song, graphics, and animations, they were all fruits of user-submitted fan-generated content. He was also transparent about any real-life turmoil. In this mailbox, he admits to having an existential crisis about the importance of what he was doing. This was partially due to presenting his work to the college he worked at.
Funny thing, at the college that I work for, the International Relations Department and the Japanese Department don't really care what I'm doing. I've presented my information to them several times, and I just don't think they think much of it. And when there's no local support, it can become kind of easy to just fall into that state of, well, I'm not doing anything.
But regardless of self-doubt, the numbers prove that people were in fact interested to listen to his work. Still, this introspective time would be reflected in the next episode of Game Exchange, which focused on dating sims and synthetic relationships. As the description notes, this was a personal one, as during that lonely 6-month period in Japan, he turned to such relationship simulators in a bout of depression.
So for the time before I met Aki, I had to do what I had to do in order to fill that giant void in my heart. I plunged headfirst into the virtual. It was sad and it was pathetic, but it was one of the few things that gave me any sort of comfort on the long days and nights where I felt utterly alone in Japan. I'm sorry this got so heavy, guys, but this is personal, and I really thought it would be worth mentioning to those of you who are curious or interested in this particular topic.
This episode features a new intro where he defeats a horde of ninjas using his sword, which represents truth, respect, and awareness. These opponents became known as the Fumon, a Japanese word for ignorance. In Gaijin Goomba lore, they are his mortal enemies, spreading slander to sow chaos and division. As time went on, he expanded his show past just covering Japan, with his next video about the culture and gaming of Russia. Afterward, in celebration of his channel's 1-year anniversary, he did a 3-part series on Okami, showing just how far he had come in a short amount of time. Michael, Ronnie, and MatPat became far more than colleagues, hosting live streams and even a game theory panel together at SGC 2013. Gaijin also started doing crossovers more regularly. The second part of his Okami series features Let's Player Chugga Conroy. Other guests included Super Psy Guy and Newgrounds animator Kerbifer. These episodes have the same cozy vibe as old Nostalgia Critic videos where he'd be accompanied by one of the many randos from his site.
Stop, hold up.
Can I help you?
Alright, look man, I like your stuff, and I get what you're doing here, but let me let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows more about Super Mario RPG than me.
Oh, wait, you're Kerbuffer.
Ah, for God's sake, it's Kerbifer. It's like Christopher, except Kirbier.
Right. Look, Mac, I really love Tome, but I'm freaking Gaijin Goomba. Culture and games is my thing.
While several Game Exchange videos bordered on 1 million views, his channel sat under 7,000 subscribers overall. I think this is because he tended to upload the exact same videos to both Game Theory and his own account. Oftentimes, they came out first on MatPat's channel, so it didn't really seem like there was a point to visiting his main account. Because of this, Michael stopped re-uploading videos to his channel, which is actually a problem in the present day as the ones that only existed on MatPat's account are all unlisted and hard to find. In their place, he uploaded stream clips, IRL story times, and Goomba rants, where he'd share his unscripted thoughts on topics like E3.
What's your biggest pet peeve? I admit this isn't one that isn't asked by a lot of people, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who are just as curious. Now, like everyone else, I hate trolls and haters alike.
This entailed subjects like stop being a gaming victim, as well as a response with his fiancée to Anita Sarkeesian's tropes versus women in gaming. Some of these were self-rated PG-13.
If we're going to have our voices heard, we need to blue ball the developers, the publishers, the producers, whatever. We need to blue ball this industry by not giving them our money. So they'll start to freaking listen to us because they haven't been.
So far, I haven't talked about how his fiancée Aki was a part of his content. He once teased a crossover episode with her in the past. Michael wasn't shy about the relationship and made several videos discussing how they met, as well as his experience dating a gamer girl.
For you guys, my advice for you about finding a gamer girl is look for someone who you know you can just get attached to. Don't even look for hot chicks. Don't look for hot gamer girls. Or rather, if you find one, I got lucky. Aki's got curves to know tomorrow.
Well, in early 2013, the couple publicly announced they would be getting married, sharing their official wedding invitation on the Game Theory channel. The ceremony was set to take place on May 1st at the Arcadia Retrocade. He revealed the entire event would be streamed live on Twitch. They invited fans to submit homemade decorations and fan art. They also invited people to their honeymoon, the Screw Attack Gaming convention. As the date arrived, the live stream started as planned, revealing their entire ceremony was Mario-themed. One of the groomsmen can be seen as Luigi, while Aki is dressed as Princess Peach. Behind the altar are pinups of arcade cabinets like Q*bert, as well as paper-printed out fan art of Goomba characters. Sadly, as they gave their vows, the stream cut out, something he only noticed during the recessional. Michael can be seen trying to go and fix it, only for Aki to stop him so they could continue their wedding. The only footage we have is from his contingency plan, having an HD camera recording the whole thing as a backup. He uploaded these moments the stream missed to his YouTube channel a few days later. As far as I can tell, the actual live stream is lost media. While fans at the time were ecstatic and supportive of the newlyweds, in the years that followed, this Mario-themed celebration would go down in infamy. Several posts went viral mocking their choice of decor, as well as the fact he attempted to leave to check the stream. There is a bit of misinformation that I figure it's worth clearing up here. Firstly, Michael did not leave mid-vows, he only noticed the stream was down mid-recessional. The man in the Luigi costume is also not MatPat, as some speculated, but Gaijin Goomba's brother. I understand why people wanted that myth to be true because it's very funny. Regardless, all this ribbing would lead him to eventually private the video of their wedding, showing that maybe the fact it had originally cut out on such a personal moment was a good thing. The only known existing copy refers to it as a autism wedding.
I felt so bad because I hyped this thing. I got everyone excited for it, and it cut out at the absolute worst possible time.
After this, things mostly went back to usual. His next few videos were sponsored by Arcadia, the retrocade where they got married, which makes me assume that they bartered the location use for the promotions in exchange. His episode about Hat in Time was done in collaboration with its developers, who shared an exclusive preview of the first two levels. A video about Sonic 06 being possessed by the devil garnered over 3.8 million views. On his own channel, he debuted a new series called Going Gold. It was made in collaboration with Language Automation Inc., a localization company who reached out in 2012. The show had him team up with their superhero mascot, Laser, to break down localization errors.
So, why me again?
The League has been overwhelmed by these creatures.
Fool.
A lifelong fan of Mega Man, Michael made an unpaid ad promoting one of the creator's new Kickstarter campaigns, Mighty No. 9.
And make the bad guys cry like an anime fan on prom night.
It begins with a personal message for the game designer in Japanese.
稲船さん、はじめまして。私は外人軍馬と申します。このビデオを見たら、私の悪い日本語を許してください。まだ上手じゃないんです。
And in mid-2013, he appeared on a panel about content creation with Matt Pat, Ronnie, Greg and Gerard from The Completionist, Black Nerd Comedy, Proton John, and Movie Bob.
All the stars are here!
By this point, Gaijin Goomba had grown to 32,000 subscribers, while the game theorists were on the cusp of 500,000. His production value improved, purchasing a Blue Yeti microphone and hiring artist friend the Gecko Ninja to do a complete overhaul of the program.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the next generation of Game Exchange. I'm actually quite fond of the new look, and I'm loving my new sword, the Pixel Cutter.
They became such good friends that the Gecko Ninja was made third seat on him and his wife's new Let's Play channel, Gaijin Gamers Play. It was undoubtedly inspired by Game Grumps, as both his artist and Gaijin himself had made Game Grumps animations in the past. While most of these changes were welcomed, one aspect would prove particularly controversial. What needs to be understood is that the overhaul also included a redesign of his wife, with Aki Goomba now having very pronounced breasts. They even bounced in the new Let's Play intro. There was so much backlash over this that less than 24 hours after its reveal, he made a second video, quote, defending tits and ass.
Okay guys, I guess it's time for another rage.
Much of the video is spent reiterating his stance on how Americans were desensitized to violence while finding anything sexual offensive. He then points out the double standard women have in their expectations of men.
Ladies, you can sit here and argue all the livelong day that a pair of bouncing tits is absolutely horrible, that it's just completely appalling, it's over-sexualization. Yeah, but you girls have that too. Come on, let's be honest here. I've read a couple of trashy romance novels because I needed to get the research done. I know what's in that, and I tell you what, men aren't like those men. We're not completely chiseled and ugh.
He's entirely focused on defending its right to exist and perceived hypocrisy, when I think most people just found it kind of cringe.
You know, here's a great example. Guy gets kicked in the balls. That's freaking offensive to me. You know, I don't think that's funny. That crap hurts. And it's still funny. We still laugh at that. We still mock it. But, oh my god, if anything like that ever happened to a woman, it would be sexist and it would be rape, etc., etc. So why can't we just play on an even playing field?
This honestly could have been where the controversy ended, having made his point crystal clear. From what I can tell, it wasn't even poorly received. The next video the newlyweds made together tried to help his fans find love with Gaijin Goomba's Guide to Getting a Gamer Girl/Guy. For the record, the steps are 1. Stop being a jerk, 2. Humanize, 3. Making some time, step 4. Diversify, and he specifies this is for games, not races, 5. Suck it up, 6. Getting goofy in game, and finally, stepping into real life. Here he would end up doubling down on the whole Goomba with boobs thing in a way that absolutely no one could have predicted. With the help of Gecko Ninja and musician The Living Tombstone, on January 12, 2014, he uploaded a remix of DJ Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back, in which he raps about his wife's quote-unquote big Goombas.
I like big Goombas and I cannot lie. You other haters can't deny. When that girl walks in with an itty bitty waist and the power up in your face, you get.
It ends with the message, Aki's design is something we both helped create together. We both love it, and it ain't changing anytime soon. This animation was mocked mercilessly across the web, far more than any attention the design got prior. He quickly deleted the video off his channel, but this didn't stop the onslaught of memes and remixes. It became a favorite of the group mashup channel Siva Gunner, to the point they made an 83-track album of just Goomba Got Back remixes. It totals 2 hours and 30 minutes and is worth every second of listen time. The Living Tombstone, who created the song's instrumental, later reflected on its creation on a re-upload in the comment section. He sent me the vocals of the parody and I was like, f yeah, an excuse to do a remix of Baby Got Back. The musician fully embraced being a part of cringe culture, laughing it off. As for the Goomba himself, it seemed like a bit of a sore spot, though he eventually took it in stride. It became something guests ribbed on whenever he did a crossover episode, like his video a few months later with the Lonely Goomba. which I should note is an unrelated animated Goomba game review channel, except his gimmick is that he has a deep voice.
You know, perhaps if you spent less time judging ladies on their physical appearance and spent some time getting to know the
Says for Goomba whose girlfriend has giant jugs.
wife, aho.
Goomba Got Back was even referenced in Game Theory's 1 million sub special, which prominently featured both Gaijin Goomba and Ronnie Edwards.
This is a celebration after all. And besides, Ronnie, if you really wanted to provoke the Goomba, you'd clearly mention his wife's well-endowed avatar. I mean, Goombas just shouldn't have boobs, dude.
You go ahead and keep talking in the hand I don't have.
Game Exchange carried on strong throughout 2014. Most episodes either reached or got close to 1 million views. With help from both Ronnie and the Gecko Ninja, he was able to include skits and more complicated visuals. One vid I remember from this period was Why Ocarina of Time Offended Muslims. It discussed how original versions of the game used Islamic prayers in its fire temple. He got help from 2 Muslim fans while researching the episode. Even to this very day, it's pretty well done and received 2.6 million views. He also did collabs with Ninja Brian of Ninja Sex Party fame, as well as Pro Jared.
Thanks for having me, Gaijin Goomba, and hello everyone, I am Pro Jared.
An unexpected hit on his own channel was his April Fool's video, Goomba Appreciation Day. It served as a PSA highlighting the abuse of Mario's most overlooked enemy. It's now his 4th most viewed upload, showing people did appreciate when he played up his character. That month also saw the start of his new series, Culture Shock. These were conceived as smaller videos to tide people over between the main show episodes. Despite this, Game Exchange would partially conclude 2 months later with episode 28, Mega Man and the Singularity. For the finale, he stepped in front of the camera for the first time. Well, not the first time, but I guess the first time during an actual episode. I say it only partially concluded because Game Exchange continued over on the Gaijin Goomba channel. Some of his most popular episodes came shortly after, like whether or not Punch-Out is racist. It mainly signaled the shift toward Culture Shock as the staple series on the Game Theorists. Still, you could tell he was starting to reconsider the format of his program. In August, he started a storyline where he gets sick and takes human pills, unpitching his voice for the video.
Oh, what the heck was...
It ends with a poll asking viewers which narration style they preferred. Shortly after, he made yet another video explaining his decision to keep being squeaky. But this time, his explanation was noticeably different. In the past, he admitted that he just didn't like the sound of his natural voice.
Yeah, I just honestly don't like my recorded voice, but if you do, I'm flattered.
But here, Michael states that the primary motive was to protect himself from extremists.
To answer everyone's question of why I do all of this, one answer, protection, is protection from extremists.
This is baffling for a few reasons. By then, he had already shown his real face and voice numerous times, including live streaming his wedding. You can't get more parasocial than that. It's also hard to imagine what he'd said or planned to say that an extremist would take offense to. He bizarrely compares himself here to the Cleveland Show.
This is why South Park, Family Guy, Cleveland Show, American Dad, this is why they get away with it. Because they're not actual people in front of cameras. If they were, these people could be found. They could be hunted down in a very literal sense.
To be fair, it wasn't just protection from extremists. He goes on to clarify it also protects him from insane fans. He also points out that he had grown attached to his character.
I love you guys, but I can't make all of you happy. And that's something that every human being should know, is that you can't make everyone happy.
While we can't see the results of the poll, presumably the squeaker pitch won out, because it wouldn't be until a few years later that he retired it entirely. Culture Shock retains similar popularity, with these episodes consistently hitting 1 to 2 million views. In the meantime, he tried using his own platform for serious issues, like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and the passing of Jew Wario, as well as defending the Middle East from gamers.
Yes, the Middle East has a lot of thug-minded terrorists. Guess what? We have those here too. We call them the Ku Klux Klan, we call them the Black Panthers, and we call them Westboro Baptists. They spread hatred and fear and use whatever force they can to make people do what they want to do.
Okay, that last one needs a bit more elaboration. The story is that one of his patrons, a man named Muhammad from Kuwait, tried to buy games off Facebook. The seller responded by calling him a scammer, a terrorist, and refusing to do business. Distraught, the fan reached out to Michael for help, leading him to make this video. I suppose it was a nice thing to do, but I'm not going to lie, it's hard to take his "We Are Gamers" speech seriously.
We are gamers. We pride ourselves in playing with and working together with all kinds of people all over the world through the internet. I am a gamer. We are gamers. Most of us have spent years isolated and insulted because of who we are and what we love. So why now should we cast out those who just want to love what we love?
However, this wouldn't be the only controversial issue he would tackle. If you couldn't tell already, a reoccurring issue on his mind was the subject of sexualization.
It's like 6 in the morning, and I can't sleep, because this has been on my mind all last night, and pretty much all night through the following day. This is just a general response to the whole over-sexualized Samus thing, especially when it comes to Samus and the new Smash Brothers.
He made several videos on the subject, like how it's okay for Zero Suit Samus to be hot, or for Tifa from the Final Fantasy series to have big boobs.
I think we've forgotten what realism actually is. A friend of mine a few weeks back came to me and told me that there was a petition to have Tifa's breast size reduced for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I really didn't give it much thought until she told me her argument. See, this friend of mine is a busty gal, has been for a long time, and all her life she was verbally assaulted by other people because of her post-pubescent predicament. So too do I think that we need to recognize that all women should be loved and appreciated, no matter what kind of body they have.
Overall, the message was good and in favor of real-life body positivity. While these were largely well received, his video defending Bayonetta wasn't so lucky, at least when presented to the series creator Hideki Kamiya. After being sent the video on Twitter, he simply replied, "Blocked." Then he tweeted, "Repeat just to make sure. I have no f***ing interest in your bayo sexy blah blah topic. Go back to your nest or I'll block you immediately." Upon seeing this, Gaijin responded, the video is defending you and your character." Hideki replied, "Whatever, no f***ing interest in your topic." This led Gaijin Goomba to fire back in Japanese, roughly translating to, "You're really being rude. I was just trying to help. And this is your response? How f***ing rude." To which the developer countered, "I said go back to your nest. Blocked. Now my timeline becomes immaculate." For context, Hideki is quite divisive, well known for being hot-headed and blocking people on Twitter constantly. Despite this, his swift rejection and Michael's attempt to retort in Japanese led most to take his side. Jumping forward a year, there isn't a ton to mention in 2015. He made another video about dating sims, this time buying an expensive Japanese adult toy as part of his supposed research.
Yes, my friends, I did shell out the money to have this game imported, extra, peripheral, and all. I went in curious just to see how base and physical these kinds of games have become, and you know what? I was totally blown away.
Yes, this is on the main Game Theorist channel. Culture Shock continued to outperform with a video about Five Nights at Freddy's reaching 4.9 million views. This upload also marked when he officially retired the Goomba, opting for more conventional stills of him as a human being.
Oh, jeez. It's just a dream. Wait, what the frickin'? Honey! Honey, help, I'm human!
What are you talking about? You've always been human.
The trial run continued throughout October and ultimately stuck, officially bringing an end to his high-pitched era. Why he didn't just get rid of the voice but keep the Goomba character, I'll never know. Even if it wasn't much, having the character was fun and got us gems like Goomba Got Back. Now he's just another guy, blending into the sea of other white dudes talking about video games on the internet, including myself. Even so, Culture Shock kept on growing and now popular enough to attract real sponsors. In 2016, nearly every episode was brought to you by brands like Loot Crate. Output-wise, this is probably his most consistent period, but the sacrifice was having to cover subjects he wasn't as passionate about. Over time, viewers picked up on the occasional factual oversights, along with some episodes being outright misses. The first that comes to mind is how Doom's demons are racist. The thumbnail shows one of these demons holding a sign that reads, "Demon Lives Matter." This was so negatively received that it was privated within 24 hours, and most have no idea it exists.
What the? Shouldn't you guys be trying to kill me?
Typical close-minded cultural appropriator.
Okay, what in the literal hell is going on?
This was nothing compared to his next controversial video, "The Minecraft Villagers Are Jews." If you know anything about Minecraft, you'll know people often make jokes about how the villagers are Jewish because of their big noses. Well, Gaijin seemingly took this idea and worked backwards, arguing they were Jewish because of rather generic robes and structures.
Believe it or not, the villagers of Minecraft hold some of the greatest references to Jewish culture I have ever seen in a game. Okay, yes, I know, there is a stereotype that Jews have big noses, but before you start writing your hate comments, understand that my evidence has nothing to do with that or any other stereotype.
You have to remember that this was back in 2016, long before the villagers had any fleshed out purpose in Minecraft. The only convincing arguments he presented were their association with golems. However, as pointed out by others, they were likely added as a reference to the Ghibli film Castle in the Sky. Aside from an edgy comment section, the video didn't receive enough backlash to be removed. For the record, I don't think he's anti-Semitic, rather he merely lacks self-awareness, such as when he made a song rapping about his wife's ass. He began 2017 talking about Hello Neighbor, with some impressive animated sequences by Ronnie. His format shifted again later that year, this time retiring the character stills in favor of a MatPat-style photo cutout. The Gaijin Goomba channel now had several series. Gaijin Review was created so he could talk about anime. Witch Ninja looked at popular ninjas to judge their merit as shinobi. If you are a fan of his old character, Gaijin Goomba actually shows up here. But instead of being an avatar, he's treated as a sort of sidekick. He also doesn't have the squeaky voice.
What? I honestly have no idea. Apparently this was a trial by oath.
Over time, the Goomba character devolved into giving angry video game nerd style rants.
It's like a choir of post-millennial 4-year-olds shrieking an existential nightmare refrain of entitlement and instant gratification directly to my ear holes!
From what I can tell, instead of effects, he tried doing a higher pitched voice without editing. Over time, the character sounds gruffier, maybe to help differentiate the narration.
Yeah, complete with all the bugs and glitches that came from the first generations of 3D Mario. I thought they would have patched this stuff out.
Interestingly, around this time, the character was made playable in the Steam game Sneaky Ninja. Finally, Aki had her own series, Pixel Pets, where she would discuss creatures from video games. Gaijin Goomba's tenure with the game Theorist would come to an end mid-2018. After the last episode of Culture Shock was uploaded, he announced his departure publicly on June 26th. Today is the last time Culture Shock will appear on the Game Theorist channel. It will now be uploaded on my own channel for the foreseeable future. The decision was strictly business, nothing personal. MatPat later explained that the algorithm had changed and the different shows' same channel model didn't work on modern YouTube. The two remained friends and continued to stay in touch. Unfortunately, this was followed by an extremely traumatic event. On July 4th, 2018, Ronald Ronnie Edwards passed away after a lifelong battle with depression. He was 25 years old, with his absence ending an era. Following his departure from game theory, Michael started a new series called Yokai Hunters. It coincided with the popularity of Yokai Watch and its tie-in show. Though his channel now sat at over 600,000 subscribers, he struggled to find his footing post-MatPat. On the last day of 2019, he uploaded a video titled, "How to be a Happy YouTuber in 2020. This is where he'd admit to feeling like he was stagnating and about to hit rock bottom.
I feel like I'm starting to hit another kind of rock bottom, whether it be because of the situation of all this stuff on YouTube's metrics, or algorithm I should say, that I can't control, or people are getting bored of my content. Whichever, there's still a rock bottom going on here.
That January, he launched a new channel called Gaijin Perspective, where he'd vlog and talk about Japan more broadly. Sadly, this was undermined only a month later by the pandemic, which prevented him from visiting Asia for the foreseeable future. As a side tangent, he subsequently became more active on Twitter, posting about how his wife was identical to the anime character Uzaki-chan over and over again. Uzaki-chan is 4'9" with a Japanese J-cup, and a college student, by the way. My wife is 5'2" and 3/4", with a Japanese H-bust size. If you say Uzaki-chan is disproportionate, you'll have to say the same about Aki. And trust me, you don't want to piss her off. Example 341 that my wife is accidentally Uzaki-chan. I bought her this kimono 10 years ago as a gift. Guess who else showed up with it on? I showed Aki some clips from Uzaki after telling her how similar she is. This was her response. She even has Aki in her name. That's just the tip of the iceberg of this strange, though I guess not out of character, thirst posting about his wife. That face when you marry into booty. Also yes, I love thick. I married thick. I've learned true power of thickness comes from destroying pants. And yes, Aki gave her consent to this image. Aki's butt deems another pair of jeans as unworthy to her big ol' booty. People want to buy my wife's jeans after her booty tore a hole in them, not sure if flattered or horrified. While he continued to upload regularly, his channel got stuck at the 600k mark, hovering above and below it to this very day. The truth is, it was hard for his content to stand out anymore. Unlike the early 2010s, there were way more options for this particular niche. If you wanted to learn about Japan, why not just watch someone who was actively living there, or someone who had grown up in Japan their entire life? That's not to say there was no value in his work, but the market was changing and he didn't seem to adapt, but rather just blame the algorithm. This would culminate in 2023 when he admitted to losing his passion for Japanese culture. Even upon being able to return to Asia, he no longer felt fulfilled by the same things. That changed once he discovered the tabletop game Warhammer, specifically the orcs. Later claiming, "Orcs saved my life," he'd credit them with teaching 8 specific life lessons that saved his mental health. It's easy to laugh at, but it does seem like this thinking genuinely improved his mindset, so I feel bad for goofing on it.
Much like the Imperium's obsession with past success, for a long time I was obsessed with trying to get back to that viewership size that I used to have, which did nothing but stagnate my thinking and stress me out. But after I stopped caring about numbers and just created in the way that I wanted to create, I was infinitely more happy. Like this video, for example. There's no cultural analysis here, no hot takes on Japan, but screw it.
He even alluded to some of the behind-the-scenes factors that led him to be dropped by Game Theory.
I mean, you want a little insider secret? Not making certain kinds of content is why I'm no longer with the Game Theorist. But that's because I learned that trying to do or be something that you're not is both a waste of time and impossible to maintain.
Michael would follow up on this at the end of the year with a video titled, "This Can't Go On." Its title is a tongue-in-cheek reference to MatPat's then relevant retirement video. He clarified what he was feeling wasn't burnout but stagnation, tired of doing the same shtick after 11 years.
So with all my friends and colleagues doing a whole bunch of just different stuff, I've been sitting here thinking to myself, like, why haven't I done anything different? Why haven't I changed? It's like...
With that, he announced a new channel entirely dedicated to Orcs and Warhammer called Gimgam.
If this channel goes absolutely nowhere, if it doesn't grow, if I lose money trying to make this work, I don't fucking care! I just don't care! Because I know in my heart that I will have created something out of passion and not obligation.
Today, Gimgam sits at a fitting 40,000 subscribers, staying fairly active with at least one upload a month. The Gaijin Goomba channel continues to post regularly as well. Before retiring, MatPat committed to a series of final episodes counting down to his retirement. This would include one on February 24th, 2024 titled Shooting Tanks with the Boys. This reunited all the original game theorists, including our Goomba friend, in person of course, shooting tanks together.
Come on in, guys! Hey!
Let's go!
I see you literally every day.
I know.
you are
However, it's been 6 years!
I would be hard-pressed not to mention that one of Gaijin Goomba's oldest memes is about his love for tanks, making it all the more poetic. In conclusion, while I think Michael is a bit strange, at the same time I can't help but find him endearing. When it comes to comparing Jews to villagers in Minecraft or playing devil's advocate for the more eyebrow-raising parts of Japanese culture, he genuinely doesn't seem to understand how this will be used against him and reframed in the least charitable light possible. Is he constantly talking about his wife's butt? Of course, but on the flip side, you can also point to this showing how much he is in love with his spouse even after being together for a decade. Don't we all wish we could have our own geeky gamer girl? Gaijin Goomba was a product of his era, with a career boosted by those around him including ScrewAttack and MatPat. But as the years went on and he was forced to make content on his own, he didn't evolve with the times, and will now be remembered as the guy who dressed up as Mario at his wedding. I suppose there's worse ways you could go down in internet history.